That's what I said. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to. That's like you. No, it's crazy. Well, like, no, I'm not. I mean, the young them should be out here pushing.
It's a little more expensive than it's
But there were lots of we took all the way over here. Because that's what they So we could certainly use more people. Oh, thank you. And do you need another one so you can write more?
I know how to find it. I'll tie it
Throw it through my window.
There's some. Do you want some soft drinks? Oh, here's my plate.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name's Andrew Fisher. I'm the captain for House District 6A, which is the western side of House District 6, everything west of Colorado Boulevard. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. We expected the turnout to be anemic, a lot more anemic than this. It's our first meeting of the year. We don't have any elections coming up. We don't have any candidate forums or anything like that. But we do have a few interesting things on the agenda. We're going to hear from both of our brand new state legislators for their first legislative updates. We do have candidates for Denver Dems leadership positions. Mark will talk about this in just a second, but our biannual big reorganization meeting where we elect the county chair, first vice chair, second vice chair, etc., is coming up on Saturday, February 15th. If you're interested in any of those positions or any of the lower level positions, please pay attention to Mark and approach any of us on the leadership team with more information. We're happy to give it to you. And then finally, we have two issue area speakers, one on immigration and one on the impact of what's going on in the federal government right now on federal land, office, and employees in Colorado. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the microphone over to our House District 6 chair and our finance chair, Mark Kamen.
Call them too early.
I know.
What? Go ahead.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, House District 6. Well, I can't hear you. Good evening, House District 6. Not too bad for a 7 o'clock meeting. Nice to see such a great turnout. As Andrew said, this is our first meeting of the year. We actually haven't had a House District meeting since October, because November we didn't have one because we had the wine and cheese party. December we had our holiday party. And in January, this county party took over the church so we could run the SD31 vacancy. So it's nice to see everybody after 4 months. I do have a few announcements. First of all, I want to acknowledge the people that brought food for our meeting tonight. And I have my reading glasses on, so you're have the regular ones on. So I want to thank Sean Caulfield. I know you're in the back. Thank you. Cindy Crawford. Gail Marcus. Kathy Wilson. And as you all know, I bring all the desserts every month. So I want to talk about what we do with having food every month. I've talked to quite a few people that are regular people that come to this meeting. And I said, do you want to continue to have food every month, or do you just not care? And every single person said, I like that we have food and we get to sit and eat and talk to people. So that being the case, we need more volunteers to bring food to a meeting. Somebody will get it. We asked everybody that was here for the holiday party in December. We got like 8 people signed up. We're looking to get like 25 people signed up. It's one meeting every 6 months. So I do have a few people signed up already for March, and a few for April, but we don't have enough people. So I'm begging people to sign up for different months from March, April, May, and June. Kathy is going to walk around with the sign-up sheet, and if you would be so kind to sign up to bring food for one of those months, I will contact you a week before the meeting and say, what would you like to bring? And it's really pretty simple. And if you don't like to cook, just go to the Costco and pick up something. So, I don't. Any questions on that?
Mark,
Yeah.
You're learning to do coercion very well.
I don't know what that means. Thanks, Les. I don't know. People tell me I'm really good at Jewish guilt. And I learned that from my father. All right, second thing I'm going to ask is we need to get donations for our house district, not food, financial donations. There are BREs, I think, at every table. And if you would like to make a donation, you can do cash. Put your name on the BRE. You can do credit card, fill it out, or you can do check. We have some expenses that we need to pay. Our dues is due, and that's $1,500. We paid the church tonight for the next 6 months, and then we have to buy supplies, paper goods, all that kind of stuff. So I am asking anybody who wants to help fill out a BRE. I don't know where the bowl is to put the BREs in, but follow Karen.
The pretty red bowl.
I'm hoping that bowl is too small for all these donations.
Well, we have one. We need more.
All right, last sort of announcement till we get into the reorg. How many people, and raise your hand, are Century Club members?
Wow.
Pretty good. Could be better. If you're not a Century Club member, you should really think about joining. That is our largest fundraiser for the Democratic Party of Denver. We currently have about 400 members. You can join as little as $10 a month, all the way up to $90 a month. You can do annual. They go from $100 all the way up to $1,000. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, but I will tell you, last week I had 2 people signed up for the $1,000 a year. So that made my day. And this money goes to the Democratic Party of Denver, not House District 6. So BREs go to us. Century Club goes to the county party. Any questions on any of that? So for the Century Club members, you will get an email probably Friday. We're doing a Century Club brunch on February 23rd, which is 2 weeks from this Sunday. And those of you who went to last year's spring brunch, it will be very similar. So hopefully you will be able to join us. All right. Now it's time to go over reorg. Everybody knows what reorg is? If you don't, raise your hand. All right, reorg. Reorg happens once every 2 years. And it's when we elect or re-elect county party officers, House district officers, sub-district officers, Senate district officers, and then people can get elected to various committees like the state central, state exec, rules. I don't know, there's like 12 things you can get elected to or signed up for. So reorg this year is February 15th. It is going, for those of you who got a bunch of notices and it said it's going to be in Northeast Denver at Evie Dennis campus, it's not. James and Scott and Megan went out there. It was not a good fit for us. No auditorium. A lot of things that were lacking. Luckily, the next day we found out we can get Manual High School, which has everything we need. So it is at Manual, not Evie Dennis. And Manual is at 1700 East 28th Avenue. So please note, if you are a member of the Central Committee, which means all POs are members, elected officials are members. Who else am I missing?
That's pretty comprehensive. The House and Senate district officers.
Okay, so how many people are POs? Raise your hand.
Oh, we got quite a few here. Great, thank you.
Okay, well, we know we're going to see you on February 15th. This is a mandatory meeting. It is part of your job as a PO. If for some reason you cannot make it, for whatever reason, like you're getting married that day, which one of our POs is getting married that day to Shanice. Is Jay here? I don't see Jay. In the call that you will get tomorrow, it'll tell you what to do to get a proxy. It just has to be somebody in your sub-district. They don't even have to be a PO, just somebody in your district. So somebody asked me a little while ago when I said, yeah, the call's going out tomorrow. And they said, oh, so somebody's going to call me? No, it's called The Call. It is an email you will get from the county party, and it will go over everything that goes on at reorg. It'll have a lot of detail. Read it over carefully. You will need to sign up. I believe it's going to be on Eventbrite.
Yes, it is already.
And if you have questions after you get the email, The Call, you can contact our office. Megan is our office manager. She is there Monday through Thursday. She will love to hear from you because I know she's going to get a lot of calls. So basically how reorg is going to work. Check-in is going to start at 10 a.m. at Manual. Once we get through with check-in, hopefully by 11 a.m., that's when we will gavel to start the actual meeting. The meeting will start with everybody in the auditorium. So every House district, there's going to be probably about 500 people in there. We'll all be in there. We will go over a bunch of business. We will also, in that meeting, we will be electing a county chair, a first vice chair, a second vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. Did I miss anything?
No, you got it.
Okay. Once we get through with the business and the elections, we will then break out into House district meetings. So every House district, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, will all have individual meetings. They'll be in classrooms or a bigger room. It will not be in the auditorium. So House District 6 will have their own meeting. And at that meeting, we'll go over a few things. We'll also elect a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. You will also be able to sign up or get elected, depending on what committee it is, to be on one of the committees. There are limited numbers of people for each thing. And I don't have the numbers right now, but I think it's state central. It's probably like 3 per sub-district. State exec, maybe 4. But we'll have all that for you. So once we get done with the actual House District meeting, that meeting will break up into sub-district meetings. So every House District, except for HD3, has a sub-district A, a sub-district B. So you're all, if you live in 6, you're in A or B. You should know that. It will be in the call that you will get. And in that sub-district meeting, that is when we will elect captains and co-captains for A and B. So A will have their own meeting, B will have their own meeting. It may be in the same classroom. One side is one side is the other. Just depends how big the rooms are. Once we get done with all that, you will then go to your Senate district meetings. And those could be in a different room. They could be in the same room. I don't think we figured out the actual room assignments yet. Senate District will either be Senate District 31, 33, or 34. 32 has, I know what I'm trying to say, and I know you know what I'm trying to say. They have people that aren't in just Denver. They have people in Arapahoe County. I think they have a few in Jefferson County. So that meeting will not happen at the 15th. I think that meeting is happening March 1st, maybe. I don't know. So most of you are probably in SD 31, which is why we had a vacancy election on January 7th, and we now have a new state senator, Matt Ball. So in that meeting, you will elect a chair, vice chair, and secretary. Notice the theme here? And once that meeting is done, that is the end of reorg. So what I would advise you, you might want to bring snacks and food. It's probably going to be a long day. I don't know if we're having food trucks. We used to. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But bring bottled waters or Cokes or whatever. And I would be very surprised if we get done before 2 or 3 o'clock. Some of you have gone to these for years. Gail is laughing. I do recall one, we were there till 5:30. And the janitor said, "You guys need to leave. We're locking up." Okay, we're done. So is there any questions on all the reorg stuff? Chris?
About how long do you think in total the whole process is going to take? Like when we start, when you think about it?
Are you going to hold me to this? How long do I think? I think it will go from 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock. How long do I want it to go? To 2 o'clock. But there's no guarantees. So, can't really tell you. It's all a guess. All right, I can't believe there's no questions about reorg. Yes, there is trainings. There's 3 trainings. I know one is tomorrow night. So if you are going to be running a meeting, like, for example, I will be running the HD6 meeting. Karen and Kathy will be running the HD6B meeting. Andrew will be running the HD6A meeting. There is training for people who are running meetings. Anybody can go to these, but it's specifically for people that have to run their meetings. So I know there's one tomorrow night on Zoom. That's, I believe, 6:30 to 8 o'clock.
Saturday from 12 to 1:30 and Thursday 2:13 from 6:30 to 8. You can find that online.
And you only have to go to one of them. You can go to all three if you want, but
And you have to sign up for it
yes.
on Eventbrite.
Okay, no question. You guys are amazing. Okay, I'll be back later.
Okay.
So, good evening. I'm Karen Zazzaretti. I am the current captain, HD6B. You're right, though. He is better. No, if you have time, I would really, really appreciate for you to fill out this paper and turn it into me. I am trying to find out what we want to organize around. You know, we have at least a year before we need to start worrying about an election, but what we need to do right now is build the party and do stuff. So please turn that into me.
Where are they?
Oh,
They're on the table as you come in.
oh, here's some.
And there's
Here's some.
some here.
Kathy, could you hold that for me?
Karen, is that only for B?
No, this
No,
is
it's
for
A,
everyone.
It's for the whole.
And it's for people that aren't even in HD6. It could be a total stranger. But I am going to introduce our new and wonderful state representative for House District 6. And Sean Camacho just recently got elected, and he has lots of interesting information that he wants to share. He also has a newsletter that he'd really like everyone to sign up for so he could keep you up with what's going on in the legislature. Sean Camacho.
Thank you, Karen. I was caught a little bit off guard because I actually thought I was going second, so sorry, Matt. Apologies. As Karen mentioned, I do have a few asks for everybody. First off, how's everyone doing? Good? There is a lot of things that are happening both nationally and at the state level. And I think the way that I have found to cope with this is I choose to be happy. I choose to find those things that I can make a difference on, and I just dig in and do that. So I would encourage everyone else to do that as well. Because this could be a long 2 years, or it will be a long 2 years. But it doesn't have to be an unhappy 2 years. It'll be a long 2 years, but we can make differences where we can. So I encourage everyone to do that as well. As Karen said, I circulated, and on everyone's table is a newsletter. So if you were part of my campaign emails, you're not going to get those anymore. It's a different list. It's a different purpose. Everyone in this district has the absolute right to know what I am doing on your behalf. Because you elected me to the people's seat is what I call it, and you've allowed me to sit there. And I'll be there as long as you have me. And while I am there, I will commit to you to try to keep you informed of all the things that are going on at the Capitol. So give me some grace. The goal is to update everybody every 2 weeks. I should have something coming out tomorrow with a lot of the things that we've been up to and we've been doing, but you got to sign up for the newsletter to get that information. So hand it out to your friends, hand it to everyone you can, because the more information you get, the better. The more informed you are, the better. All right, the second thing I have on your table is HD6 Day at the Capitol. What? Who heard about that? So that's on February 18th. So the intent is for anybody in this room to come down and see what I am doing. on your behalf on Tuesday. So hopefully I can get a lot of you on the floor. If I can't get you on the floor, I'll try to get you in the gallery. You'll just follow me around and you'll see all the votes that we're having. You come back to my office, we're gonna have lunch, and you can ask me whatever questions you want, or process, or just anything you're curious about. It's our capital. So this is your opportunity to get there. Yes. Time, it's 8:30. So on Tuesdays, the house gavels in at 9. So it's kind of a soft start, right? So, and parking kind of sucks down there. I get it. Between 8:30 and 9, I'll have my aide there, Henry. Does everyone remember Henry? Henry's been fantastic. He's really, he's been just excelling. So I'm really happy to have him on my team. So Henry will be there helping on February 18th for HD6 Day of Capital. You have to sign up for it so we can plan accordingly. So again, that's the second newsletter or a second sheet that I have there. And then third, coincidentally, it is my week at the Capitol to not only lead to Pledge of Allegiance, but to pass the minutes from the previous day. So this sounds like a very routine thing that most legislators do, but we have a little fun with it. So what I have been doing is I've been telling incredibly horrible jokes to get this process going. They're colloquially called dad jokes. So I had my own on Monday, Henry submitted one on Tuesday, and for the next 3 days, I would love to get a horribly bad joke from someone in this room for the next 3 days. So I need 3 jokes. And if you send me your joke, you can text it to me, you can tell it to me. I will tell it on the house floor and I'll give you a shout out, and Mark will be able to see it on the Colorado channel at 9 o'clock. Today's joke was, I'll give you a little sample of what we've been up to. So Henry fashions himself quite the author in bad jokes. So his joke today was, what do you call a lobster that was alleged to be involved in criminal activity? A Republican would be very good. Were you watching Channel 9? It's called a mobster. So that was Henry's jokes. It is horrendously bad, and it doesn't matter. Like, bring them. We're gonna have bad jokes for the rest of the week. All right. The other thing you'll see in my newsletter is constituent emails. So I think it's important for some of these legislative updates because everyone has interests that they care about in this room, but what about broader HD6? So we have been seeing a ton of emails on immigration. It's heartbreaking, frankly. We have, I think, as a state legislator, and maybe Senator Ball can agree with me on this, I feel incredibly powerless with some of the things that are happening at the federal level. But there are things that we can do in making sure people have the information to know their rights, to know what a good warrant or a bad warrant is. I mean, there's just so much bad news, especially in Aurora, on the immigration issue. So my newsletter will have some information on that. It'll also have the statement from the Colorado Latino Caucus, the LGBTQ plus caucus, all the affinity caucuses that stood in solidarity to talk about the things that are happening in our country that we do not agree with and we are standing against. So you will also see that in my newsletter, hopefully tomorrow, as long as Henry gets it to me. Attacks on transgender youth. We've seen some executive orders in this space. I know there are folks in this room that care really deeply about that. I've engaged the governor's staff to figure out what we're doing at the state level to protect these people in our communities, because I think one thing that I was very upfront with everybody about is hate has no business in our district, has no business in our state, and is not who we are. So how are we protecting the most vulnerable among us? And I'm laser focused on that issue, and I'm trying to get as much information out to people as possible. And surprisingly enough, and I'm sure Senator Ball will agree with this, I would say 90% of the emails that I have been receiving are on Senate Bill 3. Does anybody know what Senate Bill 3 is?
No, but I bet you'll tell us.
I will tell you. Does anybody want to explain what Senate Bill 3 is? So Senate Bill 3 is a gun control measure brought by Senator, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Tom Sullivan, because his office is right next to me, and I hear him screaming on the phone all the time about Senate Bill 3. So Senate Bill 3, what it does is, I know in previous legislatures, there was a lot of effort around preventing gun violence and going after assault weapons. I 100% agree. This takes a different path. This is really attacking detachable magazines that go into those weapons of war. So under Senate Bill 3, it would be illegal to to have, or to knowingly possess, maintain, transfer, purchase, etc., a weapon of war with a detachable magazine. And they are some very fired up people about this. Even people in this district. And I want to be very crystal clear on this. When they brought this bill to me, I immediately signed on as a co-sponsor because I have lived in this district long enough. Thank you. I've lived in Colorado long enough. I've lived in this district long enough to realize that we have a problem with guns and we have a problem with gun violence. And when there is an opportunity, like I said at the beginning, to do right, then do it. So I signed on as a co-sponsor for that bill. I'm excited for when it comes to the House because I will get to vote for it, hopefully. It's just got to get there. So those have been the top 3 issues in the first month at the legislature that my office has seen. Immigration, transgender rights, and Senate Bill 3. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. So let's talk about some legislative wins. I had my first bill go to committee, House Bill 1020, earned wage access, which is incredibly boring for most people. Let me tell you what it does. Why is this my first bill? When I was campaigning to everyone, I talked a lot about affordability. I talked a lot about how it's really hard to live in Denver and what can we do to make it easier for people to live here. Earned wage access is a new fintech product that is happening in the state. So here's a scenario. If you were an hourly worker and you have worked 20 hours and you only get paid once a month or maybe once every 2 weeks, but you just got a flat tire and you just need $120. There are services in the state that allow you to cash out the hours that you have already worked, either free or for a fee, so you don't have to go get a payday loan, so you don't have to use your credit cards. And a lot of these providers in the state are doing this unlicensed, and they're doing it in a space in our statutes that aren't meant to cover them. So when I was brought this bill, I found it incredibly important because 60% of the people who are using this service are women. The average amount of money they are taking out is $120. And when they do say what they're doing it for, it says childcare expenses. This is the exact group of people that the state should be protecting at all costs. So when I had an opportunity to jump on this bill, I did, and I passed it across the line as my first one. So and this is a bipartisan bill. So I have a Republican Senate sponsor. I'm running this with Majority Leader Duran. And we had our first hearing last Thursday on the 30th, and we passed out of committee 11-2. All right. It has a long way to go. And I will recognize this. This isn't meant to disparage anybody because everyone is entitled to differences of opinion. But I'm going to, since I have the mic, I'm going to take a minute to defend this bill because if some of you who may have seen some newsletters from organizations in this community that are well respected that are mischaracterizing what this bill is. They're calling it Payday Loan 2.0, that we should be regulating this under our current laws, and I reject every single one of those notions. Because you can only take out, under earned access to wages, time that you have already earned, that your employer owes you the money for. It's not like you have to work into the future. This is a method to allow people to live in this community. And guess what? My bill provides protections that our current law does not. So for example, there's no credit check, there's no initiation fee, there's no APR, there's no recourse, which means if you have a bad situation, you initiate one of these transactions and you just quit, they can't come after you. There are so many protections in this bill for exactly the population that I want to help that I find it ridiculous that some of these groups are out there calling it a payday loan or trying to submarine something that's really going to make a difference in a lot of people's lives. So I will continue to carry on that fight because this is one of those things where you can make a difference by just caring. And that's what I'm going to do on that one. My next bill, thank you. The next bill that will be heard in committee on February 12th is Veterans Mental Health Care. By a show of hands, who voted for Prop KK? Does anybody know what Prop KK is? So and that's fair because the ballot in November was 50 pages per voter, and there was a lot on there, and I say that in jest. But Prop KK was that one measure, if you voted for it, where it levied a tax on ammunition to pay for mental health care and to pay for domestic violence. So I got the approval from the majority leader to use those funds, because Prop KK was her initiative, to set up a grant program for community-based mental health specifically targeted for veterans and veterans' families, and not just veterans and veterans' families, anybody connected to the veteran, because we know from experience, and I know from being the active commander of my unit, people who are surrounded by people who serve the country are all affected by service. You don't have to have a legal relationship to that person. You, just by being there and in their lives, you have been impacted. So what this bill does is create and use the stream of funding that you all provided for to provide those services that are so critical in our communities, because we're seeing too often that veterans who want to go to the VA are taking long wait times, and this is a way to shortcut that treatment so people can get the help they need when they need it. So that will be held in committee on February 12th. I'm running that with Representative Stewart, Senator Hendrickson, and Senator Bridges. So for those of you who know inside baseball, Senator Bridges is on JBC, so I think it's got a good chance. And there's so many other bills, but I'm going to save some content later and move on. But one thing that I am really excited on, because I'm all about fulfilling campaign promises, is I had the opportunity today to sign as co-sponsor for YIGBY. Ryan, what's YIGBY? YIGBY is yes in God's backyard. So it is a statute that's going to make it easier for faith communities who own property to build housing on those communities in every community across the state. Because what we need more is housing, whether it's in God's backyard or your backyard or whoever. We need more housing, and I was really, really excited they asked me to be a co-sponsor on that bill as well. So before I pass the mic, does anybody just have any questions whatsoever? Like, I'm happy to answer anything for just a few minutes. Sue.
How much money do you think you're going to raise from KK? Do you have any idea?
I think first year was $5 million, I believe. So, I mean, not a lot of money. Hopefully it's less money every year because people are buying less ammunition, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we're going to do good with the money that we do have. Less.
Providers for mental health, are they going to go to the VA for mental health?
So there are some community providers. There's two in particular that come to mind. Well, I'll just say one. One is the Cohen's Veteran Health Network. They're based in Colorado Springs, but they provide telehealth services to communities all across the state, including here in HD6. So they started with a huge endowment from the owner of the New York Mets. He said he had a son that went to Afghanistan and came back and said, "Dad, if you're going to do anything with your money, start some mental health clinics." So he did. So he started with a huge endowment. Unfortunately, that endowment is running out, and they need to swim on their own. And this is a huge part of allowing those community-based mental health services, when the state doesn't have money, to find grant funding to provide the services that we all need. So yes.
Not on this subject. Can I ask you a question
Sure.
on a different subject?
Absolutely.
Is there any movement in the legislature to look at algorithms and how they might be brought under control?
A lot, yeah. I think Senator Rodriguez. So the question is there a movement at the legislature to look at algorithms? Senator Rodriguez, so for those of you at Windsor Gardens, your senator, is working on an AI bill. It's really focused on making sure that AI is not used in a malicious manner to target communities of color or exclude people from opportunities. So I think that bill is coming forward at some point, but there's a lot of energy behind it and thought and concern and everything else. Like the sausage making is real on that one. So that more to follow. Any other question? Jackie.
Oh, well, you mentioned being able to get money that you've already earned. How does it work? You know, through No Father Down, sometimes people always show up because of what they make and things you have no control over with people adding fees and stuff. When you get your paycheck, your paycheck won't have that because you've been prepaid. What's the safety net to help people not become debt ready.
Sure. So, did everyone hear the question? So the question is, when you are accessing your money before payday, what is preventing you from becoming debt ridden? So we had a professor from the University of Colorado who studied this subject, and he came and talked about your easy access to the money that you've already earned, that stable level of income that you get throughout the week or throughout the month, helps you get out of a cycle of debt, because you have money more predictably, that you can plan your expenses and your bills. It's when you have to go a month before getting paid that you start racking up debt that you just can't catch up to. But if you have access to your pay earlier, you're far less likely to get into that debt cycle. And one thing I didn't mention with my bill is the absolutely only fee that is allowed is if you want to access your money same day. It requires at least 3 different free options. So if you know you need money in 48 hours, you can initiate the transaction. It better be free. If it better have a bill pay service that's tied to earned wage access, so you can pay your bills through this. A lot of providers tie, like Uber, so Uber Eats can be tied to it, or Amazon gift cards can be tied to it, or a debit card. And you're probably asking, how do these companies make their money? They make the money on the transaction fee. So the fee for same-day service is really just meant to cover the cost of doing business. It's the cost it makes them or it costs them to transfer the money. But a lot of these companies, to prevent them from really abusing people in disparate situations, that's what my bill is trying to prevent. Karen.
Okay, I wanted to know, how's it going on Tabor? Because that was the thing that we have talked about for I don't know how long.
Years.
Years.
I have not given up. I have something ready to go. And I told you, and I was very upfront with this, if you hold this seat, this is the 3rd most Democratic seat in the entire state, you better push the agenda. And I'm pushing the agenda. The problem is, you got to push the agenda and win. You do. I mean, you can't just be out there, screaming into the wind and saying, oh, damn it, they wouldn't do what I wanted them to. I'm working those gears. I'm ready to go. I've got Senate sponsors. I've got a plan. It's part of a larger, broader effort. I just got to keep pushing. And it's not ready yet, but hopefully it'll be soon.
All right. One last question for Representative Camacho, and then we've got to pass the mic. Going once, going twice.
All right. Please don't leave me hanging out to dry tomorrow. Please submit your horribly bad jokes so I have some content for tomorrow morning, and I will give your name a shout out on the House floor. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
All right, back to back. Mark made reference to the election earlier, but please welcome our new state senator, Matt Ball.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrew. Give it up for the leadership in House District 6 for putting this together. And thank you all for being here. I was reflecting a little bit when I was driving here on sort of the tale for me of the last 4 HD6 meetings. So 4 meetings ago, I was helping Andrew out as the co-captain for HD6. Then 3 meetings ago, it was a holiday party where you had a bunch of vacancy committee candidates. Maybe I'm skipping a month. I think I'm skipping a month. In any event, the last regularly scheduled HD6 meeting was the vacancy committee election, and now I'm here as your senator. So it's an honor to be here. I've been coming to these meetings for the last 2 years, basically, as someone who helps run them and hosts candidates. And I know so many of you, through just coming here for the last 2 years. So it's a real honor for me to be here. And I also, I think in the last month, I've just felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and privilege that I, am able to do this job that I've just started that I absolutely love. So thank you all for giving me that opportunity. So it's been a month for me, and there have been a lot of changes. So what have I been doing at the Capitol? So I've been there for about 3 weeks, and I have been, folks like Sean, who just arrived, are all drinking from the fire hose, and I'm sort of doing that in addition to taking all the orientation that they give you and just making it into on-the-job training. So, between that, hiring an aide, starting to work on my first bills, and then just, encountering the environment in the Senate, it's been a really busy time. Sean touched on Senate Bill 3. So my first real experience at the Capitol was I sit on State Affairs, the Senate State Affairs Committee. SB 3 started in the Senate. And State Affairs is 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. And those 2 Democrats are Tom Sullivan, who you all know is really single-handedly responsible for leading just a crusade on gun reform in this state over the last 10 years, born from his very personal experience. And then Julie Gonzalez. They were both early co-sponsors of the bill. I arrived at the Senate, too late, basically, to make a decision on co-sponsoring. So I became the focal point of that debate. So much so that, my number leaked. We had to start monitoring for death threats, had to report some to the Colorado State Patrol. So things sort of got dark quickly. And I will say, for me personally, there was a little bit of irony in this because I come from a family of gun owners. I am an elk hunter. My grandfather was a very old school member of the NRA. He smelt his own ammunition. He was just a really exacting marksman. Obviously I've got my military experience and I'm someone who has, quite a lot of experience with firearms. I'm also someone who agrees with this bill because I've got a 2 and a 4 and a 6-year-old. And as I said in State Affairs, there were so many people who turned out. We were there till midnight, hearing really passionate people on both sides. And to me, the most telling statistic that was cited was an East High School student who said that in a review of 1,000 self-defense cases, there were 2 that required even 10 rounds. Much less 15 plus rounds that you would need a detachable magazine for. And so the way I look at the issue is, I don't see a case for self-defense for these weapons. And we heard like a parade of hypotheticals of when you would really need a weapon that takes a detachable magazine to defend yourself. But they were all hypotheticals. And on the other side, we have, the massacres that just continue to happen in this country that I'm very worried about. So I was, at the end of the day, proud to make a yes vote on that bill and move it on to the Senate. We will now be hearing it on Friday of this week, so that will be another very long day at the Capitol. But Senate Bill 3 is sort of taking up a lot of the air in the room in the Senate on this side, and it's been sort of my first big experience. So one addendum to that too is, Representative Camacho was describing it, it does not ban the possession of the weapons, it's just the sale and transfer, which is an important point. Because, a lot of the concern was, are you coming to take what I already own? And the answer is no, this just impacts what can be sold and transferred after that. Last thing I'll say on the gun piece, just a reflection, is there was a part of the discussion that made me sad because I think there are a lot of voters who are with us on so many things and are trapped in the Republican Party because of the gun issue. There were so many people who came and spoke against the bill who they want mental health and they understand that we need a lot more of it in this state. They have really agreements with us on a lot of things. So I was sort of struck in all of this that I think it sounds very corny, but we do have a lot in common with the people that I think we're sort of geared to fight pretty strongly against. What else is happening? So I'm working on some of my initial bills. I'm a little bit behind since I came in late, so I have some grace from leadership. So I'll have a more fulsome update when I come here next month. I have become the Senate sponsor on my first bill, which is a bill about solar permitting. In a lot of areas of the state, one obstacle to getting a lot of solar up, and Colorado's pretty behind on solar compared to where we should be given how much sunshine we have. And so one of the barriers is it takes a really, really long time to do permitting. This would actually make it so that you have to use an electronic permitting system that does it automatically based on what you put into the system. NREL developed this tool. It's been very effective in a lot of places. So that's the first thing that I've gone to. It's coming to the House first before it gets to the Senate. And then I am working on a bill that is related to something that I spoke about on the vacancy campaign, which is this phenomenon that we have in Denver that not a ton of people know about, but impacts us all, which is people get released at the middle of the night from the jail all the time, hundreds of folks per year between midnight and 5 a.m. And it's really sad because a lot of times there's a social worker who's ready to greet you and get you a bed and a sober living home, but they come to work at 8 and you got out of jail at 3. And it's just this unintended consequence of some of the bail reform laws that we passed in the state over the last couple of years. So I'm running a bill to fix that. Hasn't been introduced yet, but that's a big thing that's taking up a lot of my time. Yeah, that is my update. The actually last thing I'll share, and then I'll stop and answer questions, is just on the broader sort of what's happening nationally, because the backdrop is obviously a little wild and a little scary. What I will say, having sort of the perspective at the state, there have been a lot of what I think of as pretty underreported acts of bravery by some sheriffs in this state. And I don't think a lot of folks are talking about this, but I would encourage you to look for the statement from the Republican Larimer County Sheriff on what he will authorize in terms of following federal law, following state law, and extrajudicial sort of following federal law and violating state law, because this is where a lot of the rhetoric is being tested. We're lucky we live in Denver. We don't have this problem, but there are rural parts of the state with, I think, the temptation for some rural sheriffs to try to use local law enforcement to help out what's happening federally. And so far, there have been a lot of good examples of people really holding the line and saying, we enforce the law, we're gonna arrest you if you commit a crime. Doesn't matter to us what your immigration status is. We're not gonna hold you in jail longer just because of your immigration status. You're gonna get treated the same because that's what state law says. So I would just point that out because I think it's gonna be a long 2 years, and it's good to recognize sort of these small acts of people doing what they can to get us to a brighter place in the next couple of years. So on that dour note, I will stop and answer any questions you
Matt, I guess we've got another one over there in a second. So as I'm sure you're pretty painfully aware, we were just talking about gun violence. There was an incident of gun violence in HD2 just a couple of days ago where a mentally ill individual shot and possibly nearly killed a person. And then just a couple of weeks ago in my neighborhood in your district, a gentleman killed 2 people and tried to kill more by running around stabbing them, someone who was also severely mentally ill. I've seen people, I was at an event just a couple days ago, I've seen people try to blame the police, try to blame the mayor for this. But one thing we learned, my gosh, Mike, is one thing we learned is that this individual, in the case of the stabbing, was arrested, and he was let out because there were not the mental health facilities to ensure someone who was not fit to stand trial was kept in a place that would keep him safe from us. And what kind of conversations are going on at the Capitol in the wake of these tragedies to improve our criminal mental health system to make sure that people we know are dangerous are given treatment rather than put out on the street?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think you've got it right. The root cause of this is that we do not have a functioning mental health care system in our state, period. I mean, we are woefully behind in a world where most states don't do enough. So we've got 2 state-run psychiatric hospitals for the whole state. Maryland has about the same number of people. They have 5. That's not enough in Maryland. So when you have instances like that of individuals who are undergoing really serious mental health issues, really the root cause here is we've never put enough money into behavioral health. I think unfortunately this year there just is no money. And so I think the sad truth is, like a lot of things, points you right in the direction of Tabor, which is, we're strangling ourselves as a state. And right now, sadly, we're a state that has done pretty well economically in a lot of ways in the last decade, but we've just, we've got not enough investments in education, not enough investments in mental health care, not enough investments in the type of things that I think politically we all recognize we need to do. So, specifically this session, I know there's things that folks are working on around competency. The wait list is getting much better, but I know there's more work to do. I think mostly this session is about bracing to protect things, but I do think there's political will long-term to make some big investments in, public health and in mental health, provided we have the money.
I just want to say something, being in mental health, probably longer than any of you guys here. And it goes back, and a lot of people forget, that Ronald Reagan got a bill passed where we would not fund community mental health places that were safe places for us to put the people who came out of, were arrested and everything. And it changed the landscape tremendously, because a lot of states thought, oh, we can keep it going. And I was in Chicago, and we had to shut down so many, I can't tell you, because of running out of money. So I'm just trying to say it's not going to be an easy thing for us to change just as a state, because it costs so much. It really does.
Yeah, it's 100% true. We've never solved this problem. Yes. Sure.
You touched on it peripherally. There's been a lot of talk about the shortfall and things that could be cut. Is there anything concrete about what's going to be cut?
No, not yet. Those are still pretty active discussions. So I don't think anybody knows yet. The folks who are working on it closely are the people in the JVC. Most of what I think most other legislators have heard from them is just a constant drumbeat of it's going to be really bad. But I don't think there's any agreement internally within the JVC yet on a set of recommendations to bring to everybody else. So yeah, right now, nothing concrete. What I will say is, just for the bills that are coming out, I think it's sort of a fact of life at this point that if you have a fiscal note, which is what indicates that your bill is going to cost money, then it's not going to, your bill will have to wait another year.
I just want to ask you about the SB3 that you said is going to have a hearing on Friday. Would it be a good idea if a lot of people came on Friday?
You can. The time for public comment has passed, but it'll exist again in the House. So my recommendation actually would be to go to committee when it comes to the House, only because members of the public won't be able to speak on Friday. You can come and watch. Right. You're welcome to. It's in the gallery, but you'll just hear the senators speaking. The House committee, if you want to come speak on the record, will be the place to come, and you should.
I read an article in the Colorado Sun yesterday or today about 14,000 Coloradans that got miscounted, and it has a major deal to do with the way Tabor works. And I think the SBC is looking at that and trying to modify that within the law, but I just wondered if you knew anything about it.
Yeah, so sometimes basically some years you undercount the population, some years you overcount. So it's a way of smoothing that just the way the accounting works would free up, I think, something like $70 million this year. So I know that's one thing the JVC is looking at.
Last question.
This is regarding a shortfall as well. So there is a special interest group, Advanced Colorado, that's already going after income tax next year for a ballot measure. Feels a lot like the property tax issue, holding the legislative body hostage again. Do you guys have any plans to fight that, or what is your strategy?
I don't think there's oh, do you want to take this?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think people have cohered around a common strategy yet, but there are a lot of conversations about what that might look like, and a lot of different ideas. So I think it'll be a hot topic this spring, and I would expect some more consensus.
To put a little bit more gloss on that, Michael Fields. Does anybody know who that person is? He has just filed, by my count, 4 or 5 different ballot measures for this coming election cycle, targeted at fees, enterprises, lowering our personal and commercial income tax rate. All of these changes sound great to voters and will absolutely crush our budget. And I don't mean to take into your time. I forgot to mention this. I was just appointed chair of the interim tax task force and committee. The last person who chaired that was our former Senator Hansen. And if you remember all of the property tax discussions that Senator Hansen led, I will now be the chair of that committee. So I will be hopefully on the front lines of fighting Michael Fields' frankly bullshit when it comes over the summer.
Any last notes?
Thank you. So before I go into the last few things we have, you've heard from Sean and Matt, and they've mentioned Senator Tom Sullivan several times tonight. Does everybody know who Tom Sullivan is? His son was murdered in the Aurora Theater shooting, I think 12 years ago, and he's very passionate about this, and he is a really good man, so we're lucky to have him. All right, so now we're going to get into who's running for what. So first we're going to introduce the county candidates. There's chair, first vice, second vice, secretary, and treasurer. So I will let you know, James Reyes has been our chair the last 2 years. He took over from me. And he is probably on a plane right now, flying back from Washington, D.C., where he's been at the DNC conference for the last few days. But he did ask me to read a letter for him because he is running for re-election again. Okay, so, dear HD6 Democrats, as you may know, in addition to serving as chair of the Denver Democratic Party, I am also one of the 4 elected members of the Democratic National Committee for Colorado. The DNC just met in Washington, D.C. to elect the officers of the National Party, who we will lead our party for the next 4 years. I want to congratulate our new DNC chair, Ken Martin from Minnesota, who I was proud to support. I'm also very proud and excited for Artie Blanco from Nevada, who is one of the new DNC vice chairs, whom I enthusiastically supported and campaigned for. I regret that I cannot be with you in person tonight, as I am almost always at HD6 meetings. But I am currently, hopefully, on a flight and not sitting at an airport right now. Never know. On my way back from Washington. Our county reorg is on February 15th, and I am asking the members of our County Central Committee to elect me to a second term as your county chair. It has been a great honor to serve as your chair the last 2 years. This role certainly comes with its challenges, but also its rewards. Let's be honest, the Democratic Party is a party in crisis, and we have a lot of work to do. A Quinnipiac University poll released this week found that while Americans were about evenly split in their views of the Republican Party, 43% favorable, 45% unfavorable, negative views of the Democratic Party outpaced positive ones by 26 points, 31% favorable, 57% unfavorable. It's pretty scary. Although we did comparatively well in Colorado and very well in Denver, in fact, we shifted some red counties blue. We have a huge trust problem that we must overcome as a party. The National Party has a lot to do on this front, but we have to focus on what we can do in Colorado and in Denver to correct the perception and even be a model to the rest of the country. The focus of the next year must be stepping up our organizing game. We must go out and have conversations with voters. We have to listen, not just talk at voters. We must engage in continuous campaign, which means we don't just show up at election time. We will conduct training in deep canvassing. We will address the concerns of voters, and when it's time to ask for their vote in November of 2026, we will come as a friend and not a stranger. I do not do this alone. This work requires all of us, all of you, captains, co-captains, chairs, vice chairs, precinct organizers, all of the above and more. It's a big ask, but remember, why do we do this? With the new Republican administration marching toward fascism, intimidating those who resist, enacting cruel policies that are terrorizing so many of our vulnerable neighbors, setting up prison camps in our backyards, short-circuiting the rule of law, and dismantling government so that the billionaires can plunder it, our work is desperately needed. We must be focused on the results. We work to win elections to make the lives of our fellow citizens better. We win elections to reduce the cost of living, to make housing affordable and accessible, to address the climate crisis that is making planet Earth uninhabitable, to make sure everyone has access to affordable health care, to make sure our children can go to school and can learn in a safe environment, to ensure the rule of law survives to give us assurance of justice. Sincerely, James Reyes. So now I'm going to ask each of the county candidates to come up and say a few words. We'll give you a minute or two. And first person I'm going to ask to come up is our candidate for first vice chair, currently the captain in House District 2A, my very good friend, Emily Parker.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me crash your meeting. As Mark said, I'm Emily Parker. I'm currently the captain in HD2A. I just noticed the other captain from HD2 is here as well, Sandy in the back. And, you're just accepting all the interlopers today. So thank you for having me. Thank you for the wonderful food. The chili was delicious and spicy. Whoever made that, well done. I just want to introduce myself, tell you a little about myself, my background, and then why I'm running. And hopefully I won't take up too much time. We're working with time limits, 1-2 minutes.
We went a little long on the legislative update, so maybe 2 minutes.
I'll be brief.
Yeah.
I'll be around after if you have questions. As I mentioned, I'm currently the captain in HD2. I'm also a PO there. I've been the captain for about 4 years. And have absolutely loved the work there. I think being involved with the Democratic Party is, so important to keep the party organization going. And people ask, why I spend my free time doing this. And it's so, I don't feel the same way I felt when I woke up the day after the election in 2016 and was like, oh my gosh, I have to get involved. I have to do more. So, that's why we're all here, is trying to make a little dent into all of the terrible news that is raining down all the time. I appreciate what your elected officials said about, finding those little moments of joy. I'm born and raised in Colorado in the Denver area. I grew up in Centennial, went to DU for undergrad and graduate school, and I am a public policy wonk at heart. My background is in school finance, specifically, which is a really niche area that school funding formulas bring me a lot of joy. So if you ever want to chat about that, early learning, K-12, higher education, I'm your gal. I currently work for the University of Colorado. I do a lot of their policy work for all 4 campuses. I've also spent some time in DC doing policy work out there as well. The reason that I'm running is really twofold, and those are party building and community building. Party building, I want to make the Democratic Party a party that people like and respect. You heard in James's letter that there's not a lot of trust, not a lot of faith in the Democratic Party right now. And I think we see that. I think we see that in our conversations with neighbors of why is this happening and what can we do to fix it. And so I want to listen because as someone who's been involved in the party for a while, I think we need to open up our doors to people who haven't been. Hear the perspectives from, the people who don't come to these meetings every month, people, different backgrounds, different races, different ideologies, and figure out why we have lost trust. So if we're the big tent party, we have to have that big tent and make it so that everyone is welcome at our meetings and make it everything easier and more accessible. And the second is building community. I want to, make this a place that people want to be, make our meetings fun, interesting, organized. I think the role of the first vice chair isn't very well defined. It is kind of, support the chair, and if he decides to resign, maybe step up, which I've made James promise that he won't. And I think our skill sets align really nicely, that he's a big ideas guy. He wants to talk about these big picture issues, and I want to make sure that meeting invites go out and that we have a calendar sent out months in advance so we all know when caucus is, and we all know when reorg is, we all know when ballots are supposed to be mailed so we can start knocking doors. So something I really want to focus on is the party organization as well. Thank you very much. I hope to see you all on February 15th. I will be there, and I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting.
Okay, next up is our candidate for second vice chair. I think most of you know Matthew Logan. He lives in HD6. He's a PO in 608.
Yep.
And we're delighted that he's running for second vice chair.
So I am so happy to finally be doing one of these in front of my home district. I did make this same joke at HD2 a couple of weeks ago, but I'm sure after November and endless vacancy committees, you guys were just begging to hear from more candidates, so we thought we'd entertain you with that. Thank you, Kelly. But I see a lot of familiar faces in here, but for those of you I have not had the chance to meet yet, my name is Matthew Logan. I am a HD6er. I'm a PO in 608, and I've had the honor as serving as your assistant secretary for the past year. I am a DU grad, just like Emily. Let's go DU. I am a proud Colorado born and raised, Sterling, raised in Canyon City. I've grown up in very smaller, rural, conservative communities, and in fact, a lot of our countywide party meetings would look a lot like this room. And so I'm running for second vice chair because of everyone in this room right now. I feel so incredibly inspired, because you would think in light of everything that's been happening and things that we've been exposed to, that this room would be empty. I even have friends telling me, oh, people must not go to these things at all. And that's not true. That's not true. You guys show up, and I'm very inspired by that. And so that's why I'm running for second vice chair. Now, my big vision for my role as second vice chair is party building. One, I'm already working on a DPOD internship program that would serve as getting high school students and university and college students involved in our party process. When I was a student, I had no idea how to get involved. I would have been here much earlier, but I didn't know how to get involved. I had a lot of passion, I had a lot of concern about issues, but I didn't know where to go, who to turn to. I think this would be an extraordinary opportunity of getting a lot of young folks into our party. They wouldn't feel as intimidated by the entire process because they would learn. They would get to organize with us, staff some of these events. They would learn how this works. I'm only a year in, and I'm still learning how all of this works. So it takes time. Second, I was talking to my friend Luke Miller here. We both went to DU together, served in student government together. He's also running for DYD president, which I wish him the best of luck on. he was talking to me at our reorg open house about how there is a huge gap between the young Democrats groups and the county party. I think a lot of younger Democrats kind of view the county party system as more mainstream, something they don't have to get involved in, something that maybe they'll get involved in down the road, but usually never do. And so I want to make sure that we bring them into the fold. We strengthen our collaboration, not only with Denver Young Dems, but also in counties throughout the state and the state Young Democrats in general. And third and finally, what I really want to focus on too, and I've talked to many of you about this before, is developing newer grassroots events. I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by the paywall that they encounter, and a lot of people don't want to go to the fancy dinners. They don't want to go to these fundraisers. They have a lot of passion and concern about issues and challenges that we're facing, and they may not have something to pitch in except for that passion. And so I want to make sure that we're bringing them into the fold. We have free events. People can feel welcomed. It could be more accessible to them. But above all, I really want to be a sponge for all of your ideas. This is not possible without you guys, your input. And so I want to make sure I am serving as someone who is a funnel directly to county leadership, and then especially House District leadership. I want to make sure that your ideas, whatever your concerns are, whatever your thoughts are on how we can make this party better, how we can do better, how we can organize better, please talk to me. I want to be that sponge for you guys. So thank you so much. I am looking forward to seeing you all reorg, and I hope I earn your vote. Thank you.
Okay, next up is our candidate for secretary. I'm so excited about this person. We've known each other for 4 years? But I didn't even realize she was running until I went to the HD2 meeting and she was there, and I'm like, what are you doing here? So it is my pleasure to introduce another Parker, Mikola Parker.
Hi, y'all. Good evening. How are you? I am so happy to be in this neck of the woods. I used to live not too far from here. That's been my joke all this cycle as we've been moving along House districts. I've been about almost everywhere in Denver, so happy to be a part of this city. Such a lovely place. My name is Mikaela Parker. I am the daughter of a single mother. I am a first-gen scholar, and I am proud to have been raised and call Colorado home. I am speaking with you today because I am running for the secretary position within the Denver Democratic Party. Time and time again, I am told that there is a need and want for young people to be more involved in the party. I myself have been looking at being more intentional with my participation, and when this opportunity arose, I said, I think it's time to throw my name in the ring. So with that being said, a little bit about the secretary position. The secretary handles and maintains meeting minutes, as well as disseminating information and comms throughout the party. And they also help with the extensive database and records that are attributed to the party as well. So this is just kind of a rough draft of what it is, but it is very extensive. And with that being said, I think that it can be so much more. Many of you may know me in my capacity as legislative aide to now President James Coleman. I myself have transitioned into a new role. I'm a senior advisor, which has been really great. And I say that to say that I feel very confident in my capacity to perform the roles that this position entails, specifically because I've done this work not only at the city level and locally, but I've also done this work in Ghana and in Kenya. And so I'm really excited to continue to learn and, to Matt's point, be a sponge. So my vision and some of the goals that I have is that I really want to make sure that we are focusing on the retention of the members who have done so much for our party in the past, but also making sure that we're reaching out and providing space for those who align with us in value, but maybe don't feel comfortable with having a party affiliation, and asking them why, and making sure that we're creating that space for them to make our party a home. I think that is the most important part of this work. And I truly believe that the party is made to do that purpose. I also want to make sure that we're outreaching to the young folks. I want to make sure that it's like really pertinent. Now I'm learning more than ever. I have a 15-year-old nephew. I'm not as hip as I thought I was. So I'm learning so much even from him in the dialogues politically, and he's so smart and so influenced by things. And it's important to when we can, as a community, mold our young thinkers for the future. So I really want to focus on that. And lastly, I want to just make sure we're maintaining comprehensive and transparent comms and being as responsive as we can to you all, because truly you are the nuts, the bolts, and the engine that makes this party run. And so with that being said, just to wrap up, I want to say thank you again for allowing me to Emily's point, crash the party. But I'm going to come more often now. I've already signed the QR code. So you'll be seeing more of me. I look forward to seeing you on February 15th at Reorg. And most importantly, I look forward to continuing to earn your support and vote. So thank you again.
And our last candidate who is running for treasurer is running for re-election because she is our treasurer. And Beth is also a former PO of mine. We were co-POs, I think, 8 years ago. So now you're going on to bigger and better things. So we're delighted that Beth has decided to run for re-election for treasurer. Beth Turner.
Thank you. Like right now I live in HD9, but like Mark said, I started off my involvement with Denver Dems here in HD6, and Mark and I were co-POs. So I learned a lot firsthand from someone that knows a lot. And I'm running for re-election as treasurer. I've been treasurer for about the last 15, 16 months after the previous treasurer resigned. And a lot of what I've been working on is being more of a team player. And so we've done things like I helped the HDs put together their GOTV budget, which is something the treasurer had never done before. And when it came time to put together the county budget this year, we put together a budget committee that had members from just about all of the HD leadership teams, so that the budget reflected what everybody thought, not just what the county officers thought. So far, I've spent a lot of time on looking at separation of duties. It's not good, there's not that many people involved in working with the funds, and it's real important to not have one person that has too many touch points on the funds. If you got somebody that did not have good values in that position, the funds could disappear. Going forward, we need to do more work in bringing more of our processes to the 21st century. We still do some things by paper that we need to do on computer. And we need to make better use of our HD finance chairs. One of the other things I believe in a lot is being a servant leader. So a big part of my job as treasurer is to support the HDs and get people what they need to be able to be effective when they're actually talking to voters and doing the real work. So I appreciate your support so far, and I'd like your support again on February 15th.
So we have 5 dynamic candidates running for all 5 of our positions. They are going to make a great team for our county leadership, and I'm quite excited about the future. All right, last thing I'm going to bring up is where there are 3 candidates running for House District Chair, Vice Chair, and Secretary. I am running for re-election for House District Chair. Thank you. I think I've done this. This is going to be my 3rd time. I think I've held every position in Denver. I've been the county chair, the vice chair, the House District 6 captain, co-captain, finance chair, all of the above. So when they do my tombstone. It's going to have a lot of titles on it. Hopefully not too soon. So I'm not going to say anything else about me running. I really enjoy this job, though. I'm very happy with how HD6 is doing. And our leadership, we work well together, and I'm very thankful for that. Kate Sneed, who is currently our vice chair, is running for re-election to vice chair. Unfortunately, she found out at 5:30 she had to go to a work meeting because they're threatening her job because of cutbacks. So I guess it was more important to be there. And then I'm really happy to introduce my friend who is running for secretary. I don't know if I twisted your arm to make you do that, but I'd love for you to all hear from Melissa Wittenberg.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm a nonprofit professional. I work in fundraising. I'm a mom of a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and one on the way.
Yay!
First girl, so very excited. And I just want to help where I can. You've heard what secretary does, so I feel really strongly about how boards, committees, and anytime that there's like a volunteer position, that there's open communication and people feel like there's transparency and that all voices are heard. So that's why I'm running, and to support Mark and Kate. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Karen Zazzaretti, who's going to introduce the 6A candidates. And thank you, everybody, for staying here tonight and listening to everybody.
So I'm in 6B, but for 6A, we have our esteemed captain, Andrew Fisher, and he is running again for captain of 6A.
Hi, everybody. Andrew Fisher. I know it's late. I'll keep it very brief. I want to keep doing the things that are working and fix the things that are not working. Things that are working, we have the lowest rate of vacancies for PO positions in 6A that we had in a long time. We only have a couple. I'm looking for the last few people to plug into open precincts. Things I think we could be doing better. We've done a really good job of GOTV in 6A the past couple of years, but really I think, especially with the midterms in 2 years, we need to be taking some of our safe democratic energy and money and pouring it into Congressional District 8 and into other tighter races around the metro area and around the state. So we won't forsake 6, but we have a lot to contribute elsewhere. As well. And then, these next couple months, we don't have an impending election, so our meetings will be a little more like this. But leading up to the last election, I thought we had some really good programming with candidate forums, debates, issue talks, and I'd like to keep the meetings as interesting and informative as possible. I'd be honored to have your vote.
Now you notice, I don't know if anybody saw the newsletter when we sent it out. But at the bottom of it, Andrew made sure he put down, we really want your input. We need your input. Please tell us what you want. Okay, we have 2 people that are running for the HD6 co-chair. So if you would both stand up, I'd like to introduce you and give you a chance to, you get about a minute, I think. So we have Kelly Rocky, and Shanice Malouf.
If we went in alphabetical order, Shanice Malouf would be first for her last name. So would you take a minute and then Kelly Rocky do the second minute?
Sure thing. I'm going to make this really quick as well. But hi again. It's so good to see you all. Feels a little bit like deja vu. But I've met most of you through the vacancy process last month. And the reason why I want to be your co-captain for 6A is for 2 reasons. One, you guys gave me great advice. You guys said, Shanice, regardless of the outcome of the Senate race, please don't disappear. Please get involved. I think that was really good advice, so I'm here. The second reason is I loved and felt a very deep connection with all the real conversations I had with you guys. It was very reflective on where we are as Democrats. And I think that's something I really want to dig into and represent the working class and have the conversation be around the working class and representing them. Because when we do that, we can win the popular vote again. And I know I'm talking about a national scale, but it starts here in the community level. So it's something I'm very passionate about. I love community organizing. I know my community reached out and really pestered you guys, so I would love to bring that to the party. Last note is February 15th is a big deal for a couple of reasons. One, you guys get to vote, and I would be honored to have your vote as co-captain. The second reason is because this guy is going to be stuck with me for the rest of his life because we're getting married. I feel the same way, babe. And I won't be there, unfortunately, but I will be closely watching and very eager to see the results and eager to get to work for you all. So thank you so much. I can't wait.
Didn't have to tell you to stop.
Okay, I have a script. I'm so sorry. I'm Kelly Rocky. I'm a candidate for co-captain for HD6A. I work for the state of Colorado and am an active member of Colorado Wins, our state employees union. I'm a single mom to an amazing young woman who is at CU Boulder. I'm a vocal proponent of equality, but especially concerning women's rights, trans rights, and human rights. I strongly believe that accessibility is the key to involvement. I've been involved in local political organizing in every election since Dew Caucus.
Whoa.
In Wyoming, but specifically in Denver and Route counties over the past 20 years. My experience as an organizer is extensive and cause-driven. My background as a professional is as an actor, director, producer, teacher, which I think lends itself really well to event planning, fundraising, resource development, and outreach. Privately, I built a resource for families who were fleeing their red states in order to get gender-affirming care for their kiddos and for their safety. Additionally, I spoke as a survivor of sexual assault at the Kavanaugh protest outside of Cory Gardner's office. Last week, I provided testimony in support of SB 2514, and I also speak with permission from my daughter about trans-related issues and her lived experience. I work to build relationships and understanding in all aspects of my professional and personal life. Last summer, Natalie Moran and I, HD3, hosted the event Pop Parents for Kamala and Tim, which included professional performers, elected speakers, and community leaders, informing voters, and raising about $1,500 for Harris Wells. My superpower is relationship building. It's creating connection and bringing people into the ongoing conversations around our democracy and our community's needs. I'm currently hosting Living Room by Living Room events, the premise of which is creating in-person connections, conversations, and community post-election. I've never met a stranger. I'm happy to help. I speak truth to power, and I engage with folks where they are. And I'm asking for your support.
All right, thank you, Shanice and Kelly. I am the captain of HD6A, so I'm going to introduce the HD6B candidates. They are our current captain and co-captain, our current captain, Karen Zazzaretti, and our current co-captain, Kathy Wilson. Karen, do you want to say a quick couple words?
Quick couple words.
So I'm hearing a lot of people saying what I am also saying, and I've been saying it, and Kathy says, "You're crazy, we can't do that." But it makes me so, so happy that so many of you wrote down on your paper that you think we need to dig in and we need to get to work and we need to set the world on fire. And that's what I'm going to help you guys do. So.
Oh, she told on me. I'm Captain Wilson, and I have to tell you, I haven't been brought up in Colorado, and it's a big change for me. I was raised in Illinois in a very political family, and I told some people this, but it's just to let you know how involved I am in getting to know Colorado and the different rules and laws and everything. But my sister was the first female to run for the the House of Representatives for Illinois, ever. She only lost to somebody who was Republican and had been there 6 terms, and she lost by less than 5,000 votes. However, she had a huge bill that you can't fundraise to pay. She had to pay it off. So I know this, and my brother, he is not alive now, but he was in the Senate for 25 years as an assistant to different senators, because every time his senator would lose, another senator would say, "You can't leave the Senate, we need you." So he was there for quite a while. So I'm committed, and I'm learning. And as my captain told you, sometimes I don't agree, but I speak up.
But she speaks up.
And so vote for me. I don't think there's anybody against me, but who knows? If I don't get a vote, maybe I can't be okay.
All right, last couple things. I want to recognize our 2 new HD6A POs. Jay, are you still here? Woo! Jay. Thank you very much. And I don't think I see Stephanie Wilson, but she took over for Matt Ball when he was elected to the Senate. So thank you, Jay and Stephanie. Karen?
We have a brand new, exciting firebrand that's going to be just dynamite for HD6B. Stand up, Sean Caulfield. He started as PO now in 6:30, and he is the one that brought that wonderful vegetarian chili, and the cornbread. So, way to start your career.
All right, Sue has been patiently waiting.
And we need you guys to contribute money.
Sue has been patiently waiting. Sue's here to talk to us from her own experience about some of the implications of what's happening at the federal level with President Trump and Elon Musk for the federal workforce, federal property, federal buildings in Colorado.
I'm going to be very brief, and I've got some, I don't have enough handouts, and so what I'm going to recommend, it's a way that you can take action. The thing that's happening, I used to work for General Services Administration, which are all the buildings and the cars. It's the infrastructure of the federal government. And in Colorado, we have over 6 million square feet of both federal space and lease space. We have been told by the federal government to reduce that by 50% in the next 60 to 120 days, as well as to eliminate 50% of all the employees in the agency. And it is terrifying. And I know you know what's going on at USAID, at the Department of Justice. It is happening across the entire 2.3 million federal employees, and it will affect the contractors as well. So what are you going to do about it? The thing that's important, if we dump that much real estate into the market, and especially in Denver, where we already have about a 34% unoccupied buildings, it will be a devastating thing. And in Lakewood, same thing. So if you are willing, please call your elected officials in Washington, starting with the senators. And what I've done is, and I recommend, just take a picture of, I've done their emails and I've done their phone numbers, and directly in, only call the U.S. senators regardless of where you live in the state. If you call your House of Representatives for this, it's Diana DeGette, and then I've broken it down. It is not really worth calling into Joe Negus's office because they really only respond to the people who live in their district. And the other person who has been fabulous on this is City Councilwoman Sarah Parody, who serves at large. She gave a federal what to do to protect yourself Zoom, I think 2 nights ago. I have put down her number and her email, and I would suggest if you know anybody who needs the help, get them to call her office and see if she can run another session on that. And the other thing she did, which I have printed out and take it, is what to do if an ICE person shows up at your door. May not be too applicable to this group, but you know people who may be terrified, and she will help on that level as well. But she has a handout. It's on her website. So those are the things, but please call. And when you call a U.S. Senator or your House of Representatives, be specific about what you want them to do. I wrote last night and said, please stop the action happening at GSA. My husband, Tim, is going to call and say, do not vote for these nominees if you're at the Senate level. So if you're specific, and make sure it's something they can actually do. Don't be so general that they can't actually act and you can track what they did. So take a picture of this if you want. I've got only 9 copies because Andrew thought we weren't going to have that many people here. And then I've got about 4 copies of the ICE stuff with Sarah Parody's number on it. CL?
The focus has been cutting employees, but there's been no focus on looking at contractors.
They are being, we were told at GSA, because GSA controls all the contracts. And the terrifying thing is people got into the Federal Acquisition Service, which is the other wing of GSA, which we have public buildings and acquisition. And they got to look at every single contract that was negotiated with GSA. So Musk's competitors, all of that is open knowledge to him now and how he uses it. It is really deleterious. Yes, but the contractors, so GSA also has lease space. Those, if it's not a fixed firm lease, those leases will be dumped immediately. And all of the people who are contractors to the federal government, we have 40,000 federal employees in the state of Colorado, but we have many more contractors for the federal government. All of them are under unbelievable risk. I'll just bring these over here. It's time to end. But take a picture. The other thing is I put a little thing from Robert Reich, who was the former director of labor under Clinton, and he said, here are 10 things you can do right now. So I have done a synopsis of those, and that's the second page of this other document.
Thank you.
So hope it helps.
The other thing is I put plastic bags out here. Please take some desserts home with you.
Our very last speaker is Dana Miller. Dana, where are you?
Yes.
Dana's going to talk a little bit about immigration.
Hello, beloved community. Thanks for bringing up Sarah Parody's newsletter. It's an amazing amount of information, and she actually got some press about it. She and Serena have done an amazing job as our councilwomen at large in getting out the word about knowing your rights and about the immigration situation. I just want to tell you really quickly about a couple of things. I do have some Know Your Rights copies in Spanish in case you know somebody who might use something in Spanish. So please take one and pass it around if you can pass those out to somebody that you know that only speaks Spanish. There are 2 things I'd like to talk to you about. Number 1 is there's some protests and rallies going on, folks. And we need to resist with our feet as well as making phone calls. So tomorrow, yes, tomorrow is for the state capitol. There's probably 4 or 5 different protests going on at the same time at the capitol tomorrow. So from, say, 11:30 till 5, 6, 7 at night, there's going to be things going on. Also, there is a group that put together a protest 2 weeks ago in Aurora. It was at Fletcher Plaza on Colfax. The march that they did went right by the edge of Lowry Apartments, which was the apartment complex where all of the focus has been. So those people are doing amazing organization. They had another organizing meeting this week where there were over 400 people, and the building that they had the meeting in, they had to do half of the meeting outside because there were so many people. I put them in contact with Shorter AME Church, and they did another training last night of Know Your Rights. There were over 1,000 people there. So we are not alone. And what they did also at this meeting was they broke up people in, like, the West the people live here, and the East Denver people. They gave them all flyers and posters. They're going to be distributing them all over the city. And in fact, I do hear that even Denver Parks and Rec is going to start putting up some information about ICE, which is great. Yeah. So, so I would suggest you all. There's also going to be a huge protest and rally on Saturday at 2:00. That they just announced that yesterday. So please go.
Where is that?
That's going to be also at the Capitol.
So what group is hosting that protest on Saturday?
Yes, if you look up, it's the Party for Socialism and Liberation and CIRC, the Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition. So you can find them on Facebook. The other thing that we're really excited about, I don't know if any of you know Jenna McAfee, but she used to be involved heavily in Indivisible. She also has been a volunteer with American Friends Service Committee and the Coloradans for Immigrant Rights. She's put together this really cool project. We're putting together immigrant protection teams. Immigrant protection teams all over the state. We already have 15 teams set up. What the teams basically do, meet, hang out with each other, and go, what the heck do we want to do this week? Depending on what's going on around them. So we might want to write a letter to the editor. Maybe we want to show up at city council and do public comment on city council. Maybe we want to go to a protest. Maybe we want to start a protest. Maybe we want to do this, that, or the other. So we, on February 22nd, we're doing a big gathering of people that want to be on the Denver Immigration Protection Team. And if you want to be involved in that, please just write my email right here because I have no other information to pass out to you. It's pompomdana@gmail.com, pompomdana@gmail.com. The subtitle for that is Cheerleader for the Universe. So pompomdana@gmail.com. If you want to be involved in any of the immigrant protection teams, there are people all over this country doing protests this week. It's happening. We can resist, and we want to see you at the protest. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Thank you for coming tonight. Please take extra dessert, and please help us put away the tables and chairs. Have a great night.
Thank you, Andrew, for letting me do that. No, I don't. No, that's all right. I mean, I just people don't just
I keep hearing from people, oh, Twitter's fine. It's hot. I said, no, it sucks. Like Gulf of America things.